Hi, I'm Shelley Evans, and I'm here to talk to you about the Community of Inquiry framework and how the strategies from this framework build a strong culture of care in the online classroom. The Community of Inquiry framework represents a process of creating deep and meaningful learning experience based on three presences: social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence. And I'm going to go over some strategies that I use in my own classroom that support the culture of care. Here are the four pillars: communicate, advocate, respect, and empower. Social presence is the ability of learners to project their personal characteristics into the community of inquiry and representing themselves as real people. This supports a culture of care through respectful communication, showing that we value diverse opinions and empowering students to participate. We build community by first establishing trust and open communication so that students feel comfortable in the classroom. We encourage students to participate and share their life experiences, and it's neat to see how they can relate to one another. We can also encourage students to participate in the peer discussions and also in announcements. You can use a thread to ask them to share what they did over the weekend. It could be kind of a way to have that before and after class chat like you would in a traditional classroom. So this fosters connections, creating belonging, and empowers students to participate. Icebreakers are another great strategy for building social presence and community. There are a few different mini games you can play, like Two Truths and a Lie. You can create avatars or have students take a picture of what's on their desk. And I also like this cool tool called Answer Garden. This is a picture of it here. You ask a question, and then the answer that is most common will appear larger than the others. I like to ask students things like, what's your favorite thing about online learning? Or if it's a holiday like Thanksgiving, what's your favorite food for Thanksgiving? Just something simple and fun to get students engaged. Using icebreakers can help students to connect, break down stereotypes, help them relax and build rapport to help them have a positive experience. A Zoom meet and greet is another great way to kick off the class that can give students a chance to be face to face with the instructor and with each other, and it allows you a positive way to get the class started. I think it's nice to allow students to realize there's real people behind that computer screen. So this is a great way to do that. Creating an inclusive environment is another way that we can establish social presence in the classroom. Using multicultural images and examples is important so that all cultures are represented. And I like to discuss the impact of culture on course concepts and real life experiences. Also, encouraging students to reply to one another and use multiple ways to represent information. That can help students with a variety of learning styles, those students with disabilities. It gives them a way to learn in the way that's best for them. And of course, ensuring all materials are accessible. All of these strategies help students to feel valued, seen, and heard. Collaborative assignments. These foster teamwork, enhances problem-solving skills. It creates a space for collective ideas and diverse viewpoints to be shared through shared tasks. This also empowers students to participate and understand diverse perspectives. I like to use peer activities, peer reviewing, that helps them to think critically and allows them to analyze each other's work. It might even help them realize that they need to step it up a notch if their peers are doing a really, really outstanding job. It provides way to get feedback on academic performance and fosters a feedback culture. It offers formal and informal support for learners. And the connection to the culture of care is it creates opportunities for respectful communication and recognizes diverse perspectives, empowers students to participate, learn, and grow. And here's an example of a group project agreement that you could use in your classroom. Just it's good to have students acknowledge the values and kind of almost like the expectations for the group. And I also have a form for the tasks that are required for the group assignments. You can kind of make a task list and students can list which part of the project they'll be working on. And I always encourage all students to review the project at the end. Here's some tools that are great for collaboration. The cool tool I'd like to feature is Padlet. This cool tool is kind of like a bulletin board, and students can gather examples, and you can use media to share ideas. And this can be used for brainstorming, reflection, for journaling, group projects, peer feedback, digital portfolios. There's all kinds of options. It's also great for a icebreaker or a scavenger hunt. Class celebrations are also a very fun way to build social presence in the classroom. It recognizes that the class is achieving something together, and you can do a challenge like a no quote challenge for the week, or challenge all students to submit their discussion questions on time. You can kind of base it on something that you notice that needs to be improved in the class. And you can send virtual cupcakes or other reward award that you create. I've also done certificates before for awards where you send each student a certificate. So that's kind of fun. It's just nice to have a little goal to work toward and something fun afterward. And this creates a shared purpose and a sense of belonging in the classroom. Teaching presence is established through proactive communication, making learning engaging, and direct instruction through feedback and questioning strategies. This connects to the culture of care by contributing to an active learning community, advocating for student success, and demonstrates commitment to effective communication. Which brings us to proactive communication for care. Being proactive is so important in the online classroom. Getting the class started on a good positive note we talked about, and also setting expectations and in the discussion forum, participating actively throughout the week, circling back to student replies, using weekly announcements for those expectations and other tips. I use video announcements that can also be used to go over new concepts or to give, again, the expectations, and providing some encouragement through the announcements or other places for affirmational messages. We also have a cool tool called Remind. This tool is for sending text reminders to students. I like to use it for reminders for pretty much every activity they do in the class, but it only ends up to be maybe 3 messages a week. And also to kind of give some encouragement or to say a message for that if there's a holiday or something like that to remind them. I like to contact students who haven't participated in the last week by phone or email. I also contact students who don't submit assignments to, kind of tell them I'm concerned, what's going on. And if they don't respond to my email, then I will call them and just really make sure that things are okay. I think that is a best practice to respond as quickly as possible, less than 24 hours if possible, and to use the reminders 48 hours ahead of time, because that kind of gives them a day or two to still finish an assignment if they weren't thinking about it too much at the time. Let's see, welcome calls. This is another great way to have your first point of contact to be very positive with students. And I can't believe how many students I've called and they've said, "Oh, my instructor, wow, this is the first time my instructor's ever called me." And I just think, wow, that's a great opportunity here for us to connect more with students and make that more personalized learning experience for them. So, I like to answer their initial questions, ask them if they've become familiar with the class yet, kind of go over some tips for them or expectations. Sometimes I'll ask, what their challenges have been in previous courses. And also, it's a great time to listen to their own concerns. And this kind of reduces their anxiety, helps them to be more prepared for class. Personalized communications by addressing students by name and acknowledging their individual contributions. We can highlight their strengths and weaknesses and help them to find ways to improve on future assignments. I also like to note in the feedback if they did make an improvement, then to say something about that. I noticed you did a better job citing your references this time, or something like that. That can help them have a more personalized experience. And also, in the very beginning of the class, when they do the welcome post, the introduction post, I like to make a note about what their field of study is, what their interest is, or what their careers are. And that way I can refer back to their field, like in the discussions or in emails, different things like that. And that helps them to just feel again like the class is more personalized and considering their own unique situations. So this allows for respectful interactions, valuing each individual, and advocating for inclusion of diverse students' interests and backgrounds, listening to and increasing understanding of these perspectives. Another way to enhance teaching presence is to be present and to show that you're a real person. I like to do this using my announcements, sharing my favorite topics for the week, and my favorite applications of those concepts. I also let my personality show through communications with students. Like if someone says, "Oh, I hope you're having a great week," then I'll reply back and say, "Oh, I am having a great week. I got to go bird watching yesterday." That's one of my interests, so I might share a picture in the announcement from one of my bird watching adventures also. Sharing your interests can help students connect with you and kind of feel like they know you. So creating a video is another way to let students know you a little better. You can also create and use emojis or create a Bitmoji using this cool tool. The Bitmoji will allow you to make an avatar with different themes or messages, and you can use them kind of like stickers in the discussion forum or in announcements. You could even use them in assignment feedback. So all of these elements help to convey a positive tone and emotions and make communications more personal and engaging. Instructor feedback needs to be timely to enhance teacher presence, and it can demonstrate care by showing students what areas of their work they're doing a great job on and what areas they need to improve. So this supports a growth mindset by giving them actionable ways that they can do better the next time. You can use audio and video to really show that you're present there. You can also ask students for feedback, and that can help you to refine your teaching approach and improving the course delivery. And when students come to me with a question or they're confused about instructions, sometimes I will let them know that that suggestion will help to improve the assignments in the future and submit that as part of my feedback for course design. This welcomes feedback from diverse perspectives and supports equitable teaching practices. Making materials engaging also helps to enhance teaching presence. Using announcements to connect the information to the real world will help students to see how this information is relevant to them, and also incorporating their interests and careers. We can enhance the materials with graphics and other visuals and clarify what the learning goals are to kind of remind them why we are doing the work. Integrating technology is another great way to make learning more engaging, like using short videos to clarify topics. You can also create infographics and other images. You can use class polls and quizzes like Kahoot. These are all ways to help enhance student engagement and relevance. Weekly office hours can be used through a Zoom call. Students will be able to meet with you in person, and this again shows that you're a real person and available for students. And if more than one student comes to the office hour, it also builds that social presence and community. And the last of the three presences is cognitive presence, which is the extent that participants in the community of inquiry are able to construct meaning through sustained communication. Real-world applications are important to this presence, enhancing student engagement and relevance through these real-world applications like case studies. Using practical assignments can bridge the gap between theory and practice, preparing the students for future challenges. Authentic activities and assessments make the learning more relevant. And here again, linking the new information to student professions and prior knowledge can promote retention and comprehension. We can ask students to analyze similarities and differences between information they're learning and make inferences to enhance their critical thinking skills. Concept maps are a great way to do this. Using reflection and other written assignments can also help them think about how they're learning and how it applies. Connecting ideas with what students already know can help them see the relevance of the information. Activating their background knowledge can kind of start to make those connections. And you can use a tool like this cool tool, bubble.us, to show how concepts relate. And this is a great tool to help support visual learners. Reflection activities also enhances cognitive presence because it lets them consider their learning experiences critically. You can use journals and blogs, and this can promote personal growth and allow them to make meaningful conclusions. Using reflection builds metacognition, allows students to think about how they're learning and how they assimilate and accommodate for that new information. It also supports a growth mindset by thinking about how they've developed new skills and overcome challenges. We can also foster critical thinking in the discussion forums to enhance cognitive presence. We can start off by setting clear guidelines and expectations in the forums. Sometimes it's good to post a reminder there for what is expected. And incorporating questioning strategies will help to stimulate cognitive engagement. Open-ended questions guide students to explore concepts deeply and articulate their understanding, and scaffolding concepts from basic to higher order thinking can support diverse learners of different ability levels. The discussion forum is a great place to bring up new ideas and clarify misconceptions. You can also use the discussion forum to give a brief formative assessment. This helps to value and respect diverse perspectives, include diverse voices, and empowers learners to participate and understand. Speaking of formative assessments, classroom assessment techniques by Angelo and Cross are a great way to have many, many options for the online classroom. These techniques that they point out can be adapted to our online learning, like the memory matrix. Students complete a small table about course content, where the columns and rows have a heading and then you fill in the empty cells. You can ask them to write a minute paper, which is answering just one or two questions, like what was the most important thing you learned this week and what important question remains unanswered. These are simple ways to quick get an idea or a temperature check, so to speak, of how students are doing. And this also helps to build metacognition, helping them become more aware of their learning process and to think about their study habits and allowing for the teacher to be more effective too. So in this presentation, I hope you've seen many strategies of how the community of inquiry framework builds a culture of care in the online classroom. These strategies can be applied to instill a curiosity and passion for knowledge and encourage students to have continual personal and professional development. These strategies also promote a growth mindset and challenges them for future growth. And this is my goal as an instructor is to encourage students to become lifelong learners. And I think by supporting the community of inquiry framework to build a culture of care is a perfect way to do this. Thanks for watching. These are the references used for the presentation, and please see the handout with the cool tools. Thank you.